Dr. Mpho Phalatse has once again been removed as the executive mayor in the city of Johannesburg through a motion of no confidence. Phalatse was voted out yesterday afternoon at the Johannesburg Council sitting in Braamfontein. She was voted out by a total of 140 members who voted in favour of the motion, while 129 voted against the motion. Now, this was a third motion of no confidence against Phalatse and a second ousting, all happening in a space of just 4 months. Policy analyst and chairperson of Election Monitoring Network, Nkosikhulule Nyembezi, joins us now to talk about this and coalition governments in general. Good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us on this Friday morning.
Good morning. Thank you for hosting me.
Always a pleasure. I mean, the third motion of no confidence against Dr. Phalatse and a second ousting, all happening in a period of 4 months. I mean, first one, if we'll just look back at it, was in September last year, but she got reinstated when she went to the courts. What is your view on the allegations levelled against the now ousted mayor?
Well, I think it has more to do with palace politics in terms of political parties being power hungry, political party members wanting to fatten their stomachs and their pockets because there is lack of principle in all what has been said. It doesn't look like there is anything that has to do with service delivery and the prioritization of the voters in terms of what is happening. So it's just palace politics.
I mean, it's really just a difference of 11 votes. If you look at it, 140 members voting in favour of the motion, 129 against her removal. But when you pay attention, what would you say is at play at the municipalities? I mean, are these legitimate issues or basically, as you put it, political party playing? That really is one way of looking at it, when they just want to remove a person, and it's not only in just the city of Johannesburg.
Yes, it's complicated, it's multi-layered, in the sense that the coalition members each want the fat part of the cake, in the sense that they want plump position that will give them access to state coffers so that they control portfolios, that will give them access to tenders and other influence that can benefit them financially. So, because in terms of what is being spoken, it's like the Patriotic Alliance didn't want this portfolio and now they want this one. There is an absence of a discussion or any mention in terms of how is this that we are doing going to influence and improve the lives of the people on the ground. Yeah. The other layer has to do with the fact that what happens in one municipality is affected by what happens in another municipality. For example, in terms of this horse trading of positions in the city of Johannesburg, you also see it in Ekurhuleni, to say that if you give this in this municipality, we will give you the other in another municipality. So all of this affects how things are happening in a municipality, influenced by things that are outside that municipality.
Yeah, I mean, let's look at some of the reasons that brought about Phalatse's departure. A fallout between the DA and the Patriotic Alliance. This happened in September last year. So the PA offered to rejoin the multi-party coalition under the condition that it is given 2 MMC positions in the council. But the DA wants the PA to have 1 MMC position and a chairperson position for one of the, I think it's a Section 79 committee. I mean, this is similar to what happened, as you say, in Ekurhuleni between the ANC and the EFF. My question to you is, I mean, I honestly don't really care about that. I really don't. I want to know how I am going to benefit and the rest of the public are going to benefit from all of this bargaining for seats.
There is little to see as a benefit to an ordinary citizen. I think what is manifesting is that political parties are now a liability in our democracy. They are stifling progress. And that is why we need to see more and more independent candidates in the scene. Because political parties were supposed to come into this election, to this council based on principle, to say we went to campaign in 2021 to be voted into council. We got the votes. This is the distribution of seats. Based on the manifesto promises that we made, what can we combine from our different manifestos so that we come up with a program for the municipal council that benefits all the citizens? We don't see an application of a formula or a methodology like that. What is prominent is egos, is power positions, and as I say, it just reflects that political parties are a liability. South Africans had hoped that political parties working together at municipal level will provide a good example that can be graduated at provincial and national level, knowing that in the 2024 elections, we will, for the first time, have independent candidates at provincial and national level. But the mess that we are seeing, it leaves little to be hoped for, and it just points to the direction that perhaps the answer could be with the independent candidates.
Yeah. Why? And this is where I want to ask you, what is the difference if we have an independent candidate coming in as opposed to what we've currently got now?
An independent candidate is likely to be outside the trappings of a political party. We see, for example, in what is happening in these municipalities, be it Gqeberha, be it Joburg, is that the national leadership has got a strong voice. They have an influence in terms of what is happening. And so the central deployment committees, they dictate what needs to happen. For example, what we are talking about between Joburg and Ekurhuleni, to say that EFF and ANC are negotiating a deal at Ekurhuleni, and so it is influencing what is happening in Joburg and Tshwane. So all those trappings by political parties are what is retarding progress, and we hope that when we have independent candidates, they will fall outside of those trappings and then can perhaps act in the best interest of the constituencies.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose that, and that being a very big sticking point now, because, you know, when we're going into the general elections coming up in 2024, it's the whole issue around independent candidates that is, you know, really weighing in and going back and forth between Parliament and the Constitutional Court, and there's delays and delays, which inevitably, the way it's going, it looks like there could be a delay in the actual elections, and it's all got to do around the issue of independent candidates, where it really does appear that political parties do not want independent candidates. Are they a threat to the entire system as we know it in South Africa, the electoral system and how things are run, bringing independence in?
To the ordinary citizens, independent candidates will be a big benefit. They will be broadening the scope and content of what we call the right to stand for public office and to be represented. Of course, to the extent that the distribution of seats will take away some seats that are occupied by political parties have a reason to be concerned and want to hold on for themselves the power that they have. But for our democracy, independent candidates are a benefit. And I think the more we allow the space for independent candidates, it is the right time in South Africa for us to do that, in the sense that we have got all these problems that are threatening the stability of our democracy, the legitimacy of our democracy. So in as much as we want to see more people coming to vote, we need by now to include more and more independent candidates.
Yeah, and I know that electoral reform is the big topic of conversation, and that people are talking to the fact that South Africans need to take control of who they want in power, the individuals they want to be in power, and also hold them accountable if things go wrong. But currently the way we see things now is coalition governments. And I mean, let's look at the track record of coalitions after the 2021 local government elections. I mean, are there any success stories and change for the better in the running of municipalities? Because obviously all of the attention right now is being stolen by the City of Johannesburg and Tshwane and Ekurhuleni and all of those kind of things. But is there anything, I mean, as it was hoped that this will break single party dominance, is it successful anywhere in South Africa?
I think the success so far is in amplifying the need to include independent candidates in the mix of our public representatives. The importance also is to say that yes, you can have a new political party, you can break away from your current political home if you feel that we are suffocated. So what we need to do afterwards is to translate that space and into benefits that the citizens can basically see and enjoy. Unfortunately, we haven't seen any improvement in substantial terms, in the sense that the Auditor General's reports tell us of municipalities that are unable to run budgets, unable to run an administration, and their quality of life for South Africans is deteriorating very fast. So we need to use the space and opportunity that we have to have a mix of public representatives to ensure that it translates into actual benefits at all levels of our government. And I think that what the Auditor General has shown us, what the State Capture Report has shown us, is something that should give us full force as South Africans to choose wisely and to vote in numbers.
Yeah. I mean, some people, including you, say political parties have become a liability in the running of the country. And we're seeing it at play every single day. Have political parties become somewhat of an albatross shackling the country's progress and development?
Yes, they have. You look at every corner in terms of, for example, the formation of these structures, whether it's especially at municipal level. What dominates the talks are just narrow party interests. There is nothing that shows you in those chambers that here are public representatives. They are accountable to the people. They put the interest of the people first. I mean, in places like Gqeberha, you see there is no water, day zero is approaching fast, but there is no municipal official or elected representatives who uses the power to approach the provincial MEC or the national minister for intervention. There is no application of systems as it should be. And then all of those things, they point to us that indeed political parties are a liability. And as we have seen the discussion around the list and the ordering of representatives who must be in the list, it is very much influenced by factions within political parties, and that is not just limited to the ANC. There is a lot of factionalism, including in opposition parties, and that is a shame for South Africa.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we always pointing fingers at the ruling party. We know that, and you know, and the fact that they're not held to account for the things that have gone wrong. And I mean, I just look at the Zondo Commission for one instance, and we still see many of those that have been fingered in the Zondo Commission still in power and still coming back over and over again. What has been the influence and the role played by opposition in holding each other to account? I mean, including the role played by smaller parties who in some instances have kind of assumed the role of kingmaker.
Yeah, it has been the one that is selfish, wanting to get everything for themselves. They want to exert more power and get more benefits than they have derived from the polls. The fact that now your 1 or 2 votes are important in deciding how the composition of the coalition is going to come out, you now think that you must assume a much greater role. That is not okay. In fact, what we need to be doing much more objectively is to understand the role of the opposition, the role of independent candidates, and allocate those positions that do not require party influence to opposition and independent candidates. The Speaker of the Chamber, the Chairperson of the Scopa and other accounts committees, so as to ensure that the Chamber, the elected representatives, indeed they hold accountable the executive. But even in terms of what we are seeing, the opposition, they want positions that put them in an executive space, and in that way weakening what is supposed to be the primary mandate of the legislature to oversee the executive. So we need to have a big reconfiguration in terms of how we understand the role of the legislature, the role of opposition, in relation to holding the executive accountable, because that is where the missing link is, especially also in involving ordinary people in terms of the discussion at what committees, the discussion of the integrated development plans, so as to involve the people throughout the term of office for these people we've elected, and not just interact with them once in 5 years when we are going to the polls, or even during by-elections, because we are also seeing that by-elections have a big influence, but they have not tipped the scale to ensure that we have the accountability we want.
Just finally, as we wrap up, there's the one solution that's been put on the table is to actually follow the recommendations of the Van Zyl-Slabbert Commission majority recommendations, where basically it says that 75%, that's 300 members of parliament, will be directly elected by South African citizens. The citizens will elect the best candidates nominated by political parties and independent candidates. And in that way, South Africans take control back. Because right now, it really does appear that we as South Africans have resigned ourselves to the fact that this is just how we are being treated and we have no power, whereas we actually do have power. Do you agree with this kind of sentiment in that Van Zyl-Slabbert Commission report?
Yes, I agree with it fully, because that Section 19 right in the Constitution that gives us political freedoms, it says South Africans have got a right to campaign and champion a cause. So you can do that outside of a political party. In addition to having a right to form and join and participate and vote for a political party, in addition of you having a right to vote for a person that you choose, irrespective of the political affiliation. So I think aspect of that Van Zyl-Slabbert Commission report emphasizes the thing that we can campaign for a cause. And it is the cause that is supposed to bring activism, that is supposed to bring change, influence the decisions on allocation of budget, as opposed to dogmatic policies of political parties that in most cases do not address the changing needs on the ground. For example, we have South Africa, where a lot of people depend on informal economy, and yet the political parties still speak as though everything is in the formal sector. So it is those kind of things that campaigning for a cause will speak to and indeed bring power to the people and not just political parties.
Nkosikhulule, thank you so much for talking to us. Nkosikhulule Nyembezi is a policy analyst and chairperson of the Election Monitoring Network, giving us a review of the country's performance at, I suppose, local government level under coalitions, and perhaps what the future of South Africa's voting system should look like, and our representatives.